back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And we are talking about WIC, right? Women in Construction Week. So it is the 3rd through the 9th. I'm going to mess those dates up. Did I mess up already? Yeah, but I think
it's this week. That's what I know.
It's this week. That's third,
it's this week.
3rd to the 8th or 9th.
Women in Construction Week. And we are celebrating not only the women specifically in our business, construction, but the women related to our construction business, right? So,
yeah, think about it. I was saying earlier that, in my marriage, it's kind of like a team. And so, my wife isn't in the field. She isn't in the office. But, if I get called out at 2 a.m. or on a Saturday and, she has to pick up things or do different stuff, there's more to it than, sometimes you're like, oh, how many people are actually females in this industry? And maybe they're not well represented. But if you look at it a little bit more holistically, I think there is more women in the construction industry just because by their relationships.
Well, yeah. I think the other thing here, Ford, you take it one step further, is the world has changed over the last 50 years, and even with our girls, you know what I mean? I thought about it. I was up in Ford's office. Ford's got a picture on his desk of the girl sitting on his lap on an emergency job he's on. So not only did he have to leave, but, Tamara brought the girls around, you know what I mean? And so the girls are in the equipment, and my girls, same thing. We were on a water main job in Phoenixville, and, I had stuff going on. So I ran around, I was coaching basketball, and then I had the girls with me. So the girls are with me on this job. So I think not only are there certainly women we've had work for us and be laborers, be rock truck drivers, be operators, and are there women in our office and in our administrative staff and in our HR department and all these places. But there's also the team now bringing women into it, being okay to say hey, there's a little girl, but the little boy is not the only person you could bring to see a piece of equipment or see the work be done. It can be, one of our daughters or one of the guys' daughters, and see it because we all view it that it's a good place to be. You know what I mean? It's a good opportunity regardless of gender or anything else to have an opportunity to make a life for yourself in an environment where you see work get done that matters and is impactful, and you can see the results of your work every day. So not only where our wives are in play, but also in Ford and I's case with our kids, we got girls who, we want to see this work and see this is valuable.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think it's just off of a cam, but there's this beautiful picture behind me a little bit to my left of something that Addie...
Yeah, it's squarely over your head here.
That's perfect.
So,
great piece of artwork that was done by your daughter one day that she was in here with you for a little bit. And, it's kind of funny. It fits perfectly. It's on par, so it definitely stays up there. But it's, again, there's the same example. And the secondary thing for me is that, I grew up... in the family business. My mom worked with me, my sister worked with me, so I didn't even think anything of it. I never saw it as a thing, but this gets back to the deeper thing is what, construction has played defense for so long and tried to kind of go under the radar for legal reasons, for environmental reasons, for whatever the scenario might have been. But I think that's part of what we're doing is trying to turn that and play offense as well as defense. And trying to show that, I was thinking back to that rock truck driver we were doing this job and we couldn't hit our productions to save our life. We just couldn't get what we were hoping to. And we brought this rock truck driver on and she had experience, but our production went up by 60% in a week just because she just, pushed the pedal to the metal. And the, interesting part is she's in safety.
Yeah, she's
in another part of the construction industry, but she's a safety director now. But that woman, when she drove that machine, she just kept the gas pedal down the entire time, and it made everybody get a little bit more up to speed. It's kind of was interesting just to see that as a small snapshot. So it had nothing to do with women or men, but that was just one of those oh, okay, everybody can do this thing. Yeah,
we were just on that site yesterday, Dylan and I. And driving through the exact area that would be most in the forefront of Ford and I's mind of where really you showed how you run a rock truck, right? We've talked about it. A lot of times we make the mistake. It's the biggest piece of equipment, probably the most dangerous and has the most risk. And we put the most inexperienced person in it. And in that scenario, we knew we needed production. And so we were able to get this person temporarily as she was changing from one job to another. And so she worked for us for a while. and she was really efficient at it. She was a very good operator of that piece of equipment. And when I was talking to Dylan about it, Dylan said the crazy thing is that she is in safety. And I was like, right, but there's a difference between going slow and being safe. Like you can go slow and be unsafe, or you can move at a rate that is what is safe, but be quicker than everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
and she sort of walked that line of the edge of production and safety. And it was the first person, honestly, I think that we really saw run that line effectively from experience was her. And so that's an interesting point, to talk about. And I don't remember, Brian, was it on the podcast? You and I were talking about it, or it might've just been in a conversation. And I was saying, I was sort of thinking about something Ford just said about what construction has done. And we've just done such a bad job of marketing ourselves. Like in other words, we like hung on to the way things were in, like 1919 for so long, and everything else passed us by. And now there's a group of people, in the industry trying to change that narrative and tell the story again. Right. And
Right.
because the story is really interesting and it draws people in. If you can just get the story out, if the story is just more than, muddy boots and long days and going to work when it's dark and coming home when it's dark, that part of the story is not fun.
Well,
but it's part of the story, but we just weren't inclusive. You know what I mean? We got very tribal with not only our knowledge, but our behavior. And it sort of kept people out of this workforce that may have really had ability here. I mean, when I go to the schools, the trade schools and everything, it's not 50-50, but I bet you it's 70-30 now with women, young women wanting to do this work, because they see the value in it. And they see that when you're running a piece of equipment, it's not pure manual labor all the time. You know what I mean? It's not pure digging with a shovel all the time. Now you got to be willing to work, but there's a lot of opportunity there if you're skilled and willing to go to work.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a couple things. I think you're right. I think from a perception, right? Perception's changed a little bit about construction in general. And I think for a long time, Ford, you said it earlier, like, we kind of flew under the radar. Construction was looked at as one of those industries that like you did because you couldn't do something else, right? And that's simply not true anymore. The way the skill sets have changed, the way the technology has changed, the way the advancements have happened inside the construction industry, it's not just an industry for people who don't have other options. It's actually becoming, I think, a little bit of the opposite. Like, we have a harder time finding skilled people than we do like unskilled or guys who just use shovels, right? Or whatever the case may be, what men and women. But I think along those lines, as that perception has changed, it's become slowly but significantly less of the old boys club, right? So you think about how perceptions have changed over time, and it used to be like, we're going back a long time now, but like men were the ones who were only capable of doing physical work, right? They were, at least that was the perception, and men were the only the ones who were perceived to have the ability to operate machines or do some of these functions, and it's just not the case.
It's not factual.
Yeah, it's just not factual. And you're talking about Peyton, right?
Yeah.
With who drove Rock Chalk for us for a number of years, and I think that like that kind of situation has been fantastic for construction in general, and for Berg. You put someone like that, sheds appropriate light on someone who has the right skill set, making the team go faster, making the team better, and it kind of, I think, in a good way, creates a little bit of a competitive spirit, right? Like we've got a nice mix of people in our group that are young and are coming in not knowing the change, and we've got a group of guys who have been here a long time and have seen the change, and that like, hey, there's a place here for women has definitely been adopted and more accepted. And now, like, when we get the opportunity to see women push the guys who think that this is, was the guy's job, I think it's been better for everybody. We probably would be remiss if we didn't recognize specifically some of the women that we have on our team, right?
Yep.
I mean, your mom has worked in Berg construction maybe since the beginning. I don't know when her official
Before
start
the
date
beginning,
was.
Yeah, before the
Yeah.
beginning, I would argue.
Yeah, before the beginning. And
Yeah, I mean, and Carol, it's one of those things. I don't think you'd find a foreman or a project manager or anybody who, if you said, I need one person who's just going to work, that their first pick is not Carol. You know what I mean? Like we don't use Carol that way anymore, and purposely, probably Carol would want us to, but out of just sort of respect and everything else, you know what I mean? Like I want Carol to work as much as Carol wants to work, but I don't want to take advantage of it. But even at this point, and I mean, Ford, he's not a spring chicken at this point, right? Ford's not 20 years old anymore. You know what I mean? Carol's not.
My knees agree.
You know what I mean? Carol's not 40 years old. You know what I mean? And Carol just works. And the thing, I'm going to take a minute with Carol, because I remember we were doing a job, and it was the first real landfill job we did. And you had a combination, like a confluence of crazy things. So first, it was the first time Ford and I realized how much money a laborer could make on a prevailing project.
mm-hmm.
And both of us were trying to convince our wives. Actually, it was Ford's girlfriend at that point and my wife. Ford wasn't married yet. And trying to convince them to somehow figure out how to work this job while doing their regular job, because we thought they could make more money just laboring on the job. And that realization actually like triggered arguments in my family, being from Jersey, that was union. And I was like, this is how crazy this is. My siblings who have college degrees could all quit their job and come do this, and they'd make more money. And that's the truth, But the thing that I remember from that job, as we tried to convince, Aaron and Tamara to do this, was you had Carol working, and we would bring in people. And I mean, it's like a laundry list. Like I remember
She's run at least 6 people off the job.
There was one kid, he didn't make it till 9 a.m.
Yeah.
The sun wasn't even up yet. And this kid was done. He couldn't.
Yeah.
And we had one kid that was, remember, he had just come back from basic training, and like he wanted to work for like a season before he, was officially in the Army, had made it through basic training, didn't make it till 10 a.m. with Carol.
Yeah.
She's unbelievable. And it's where the work ethic, I think, really comes from, is from Carol. She's just willing to work and work and work. But that's who Carol is. And it really is who we are. I mean, if you picked where did we get the things from, the ingenuity, the like problem solving, that's Tom, right? That's Ford being like his dad. But the work ethic, it's not to take anything away from Tom, but Carol she'll put anybody to bed. You just don't want to mess with Carol. I wouldn't challenge Carol to a competition in almost anything. And I love competition because I don't think it's not even that she wants to win. She just wants to keep going.
Right. Yeah.
There's no time for lunch breaks. Hold your sandwich in one hand and carry wood with the other hand. That's what we grew up
you
with.
You eat while you're working.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So,
I think that's not transition, but that's, I think, part of what this whole conversation is that the jobs, what we're trying to get to is, one, be thankful for the ladies that are part of the team, but also to explain that the jobs for ladies in construction are not all office based.
Right.
Currently, most of the women that work in this team do have office-based jobs.
Yep.
But that's not because that's the jobs that are available for them. It's just that's where they currently have chosen to work, but we're open for across the board. It doesn't really matter either way. It's just that, when you see, it's always funny, like right now on like LinkedIn, there's all these photos from different construction companies of their women, because we're all proud of that they're part of our teams.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are office-based jobs, not field jobs.
Right.
So I think we're trying to balance that and say that you can do both, but also be thankful for, they're the ones that keep the place running on a lot of days in the office on our current team. But we've had, paving laborers, roller operators. That's why I think we wanted to kind of mention them as well, because that isn't as highlighted, because there just isn't as many of them currently.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll change over time.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Right. Who are you going to identify first if you're going to identify some of the other women? I took Carol. Who are you going with?
I took Carol.
All right, you took Carol. All right. Ford.
I did have a Carol story. I think we all have Carol stories, but
Oh,
my sons have worked inside of Berg construction at times, right? And I remember Gavin. I think one of the first snowstorms that Gavin worked, he was hand salting with Carol and that was a tough assignment.
Yeah,
Because Carol, like, I think there were actually, I think there were sidewalk machines available for salting.
Yes, she does not use them.
And she was like, "Oh no, thanks. We're gonna walk. Yeah, get your bucket, get your scoop." And he's like, "We just kept going. We just did not stop."
Yeah. I mean, the best Carol snow story has to be, we don't have to call out the site, but
Swimming in the middle.
Oh yeah.
all right, swimming in the middle. Yes, she did want to be at a site that was near a gym that she got a membership to, so that while everyone else would take breaks, she would swim laps.
Yes. Yeah.
But also that she cleared walking paths specifically so she could walk on them. They were not required to be cleared contractually, but Carol wanted them cleared so Carol could get exercise after having worked the whole time, usually wearing ankle weights, right? Like that's.
And how many times has she gotten mad when you moved her to a different facility because she's like, well, there's not as much sidewalk here to clear.
There isn't as much space for her.
So
to
I mean,
walk.
recently I put Carol and Tom together at a site purposely.
Okay.
And Carol was frustrated because she felt like there was less walks there, and we were trying to make Tom have slightly less responsibility in terms of how often he would have to be there if we had a really severe winter.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol was not happy about that piece either because she wanted to be there every time. And I said to Ford, I said,
they didn't go on vacation this winter, and they won't go on vacation in case she doesn't want to miss a snowstorm.
She doesn't want to miss a snowstorm.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
that's Carol. So who are we going to move on to next?
I mean, like, in terms of tenure, right? I think Tracy would be next.
I think
right?
Tracy.
Yeah, so Tracy, Tracy, Director of Human Resources. And Tracy's been with us for almost
5 years.
I think this is the 5th year. Yeah, because she'll next year she'll be at the Years of Service dinner.
Okay.
And she actually was for my team was a tremendous addition as we were going through a lot of growth and took a lot of stuff off my plate that I didn't have the time or capacity to handle anymore.
And Tracy, so when Tracy came in, the thing that really got me wasn't so much the role. It wasn't the responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of almost exactly what I wouldn't want it to be really, right? Was like, we want to show women in construction that everybody is equal, right? I want it to be that there's opportunity everywhere, and there is. But when Tracy came in, Brian Ford, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but when Tracy came in, it was like it was a little bit almost like teaming in terms of like making us be a little bit more reasonable about a number of different things, because we had all guys, and then we had women in the field at that point, and then we had a couple of younger girls who were working in the office. But Tracy was almost like an equal who came in and like made us like I want to say like housebroken, but that's not the right word, right? But that's what I feel like. Tracy would be like, what we could do is we could just get together and like have a potluck lunch before Thanksgiving. We're like, well, yeah, I guess we could do that. I mean, I was just going to get a sandwich, you know what I mean? But and it's like little things, but it changed the culture internally to be more hospitable for everybody. You know what I mean? Not just like I don't want to say like a frat house, but you know what I mean? Not just a bunch of guys, but it made us more whole because we were missing that piece. You know what I mean? It was not, we weren't going to, you leave Ford and I to ourselves. I guarantee you're not getting Thanksgiving dinner. That's not happening.
Well, I do think like in part of it for me, that growth that we experienced, like adding Tracy in a leadership role, I think in some ways like paved the way for other women to like take on roles of significance here in the office. And a lot of it I think had to do with the fact that like, one, we just didn't have women in the office prior to that were in roles that
it wasn't that there was men in those roles. Those roles didn't exist.
They just didn't exist. Yeah. And what few women we did have in roles in the office were mostly secretarial in nature. Right. So I think her, her coming in showed like, hey, there's a path. There's spots to
maturation of the company, but also I was trying to think she's a very young den mother. That's kind of the thing, or like team mom or something like that. But
sure.
Like trying to find like, because she, some of these things, she's like the glue for some of those pieces that
would fall
like
through
you
the
said.
cracks.
Yeah, it wouldn't come to the top of our minds. Some of the things were like, oh, like not bad or good. It's just we didn't even think about them because they just didn't cross our.
Yeah, and I think we really only got Tracy because of a positive referral from her daughter,
Right.
who was here before.
For 8 years.
Yeah. So
there was Mel, Jahira,
Yeah.
Blair. There's multiple other ones that have come and gone through the years.
Tori left and came back now.
Yes.
Tori's here after a hiatus, right?
Yep.
In charge of all of our marketing activities now.
Yep.
Which is a big jump for us because we went from using an outside party to say like, hey, we have no idea what we're doing, so someone else just do it, to taking that back and struggling internally to try and find our way through it, doing it reasonably, but not probably to the
We just weren't
extent
focused.
or the height that we probably
Needed
should have
to.
been, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and now having someone actually sort of say like, all right, let's figure out how to use these things
Right.
and how to focus the effort going forward. So I think that's a little as a testament. Someone who was here years later in their career came back and said, this is still somewhere that I want to be a part of, and having an impact almost right away. She hasn't been here that long, but
Yeah. Then I mean, we got to say Kelsey.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Kelsey is one of my favorites. Kelsey could likely be a really solid operator.
You're not allowed to say that. You can't pick favorites.
Well, it's all right. Sure.
Edit that,
It's like-
please.
Sure. We'll pretend we're going to edit that. We don't
It's like-
edit this. So
It's like when you're talking about your kids, right? Like, are you how to is it okay to pick a favorite?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
All right.
But the thing about Kelsey is I really genuinely think Kelsey could be an operator.
Oh, yeah.
Kelsey could be a foreman. Kelsey could be an estimator. Kelsey could be a project manager.
Yeah.
Kelsey can be in charge of, ARAP.
Yep.
Kelsey can do whatever Kelsey wants to do because of how engaged and accountable she is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I really think as the industry grows that is really important is that we're looking for accountable people in this industry, regardless of what your role is. And to zero in on one specific group, whatever way you're trying to segregate it, to figure out what group you want to search, you're just limiting the people you can get to. And I think when you open it up and look at it, you can see skill sets that will be able to serve that purpose very well, regardless of their background or their gender or any other choices they may make. And Kelsey's certainly done that for us. I mean, she's helped all of us grow and get through things immensely. So Kelsey's certainly someone, for me that shines a light on what opportunities are there for somebody in this field.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, Kelsey's just like embraced everything we've ever asked her to do, right? And I think that's what you're trying to say there.
Yep.
When you say she could really fill whatever
Yep.
role, because every time we've had a new spot that we needed someone to grow into, she's embraced it. She's
Yep.
learned the role. She's taken it by the horns and had success.
And she holds people accountable.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing
Yeah.
is, you know what I mean? Kelsey, it doesn't matter if it's, if it's an operator with 30 years experience, a foreman that's been running things for 20 years or
you.
or me, you know what I mean? If Kelsey will say like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, here's what we need to do.
Well, and with like Tracy, she came in with professional background for what we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But Kelsey's one of the ones that has just, like you said, just grown into whatever she's accepted
Yeah.
as her role. And, we've had a couple of those,
Yeah.
Kelly, who's no longer there, but she started
Right.
the same way.
Right.
Aubrey kind of
Aubrey,
started
who
the same
is
way.
The same way. Yeah.
Yes.
And less experience, less tenure, but
Started doing one thing and,
Yeah.
3 different positions
we've
later.
asked her to like take on new roles, and she's
Right.
yeah, I'll do that,
Yep.
and has done it really well. And that's not to say that like none of us, but it's never been perfect, but it's been good. Yeah.
Blair's the same way. Like, when
Yeah.
you first met her, I think she interviewed for a different role,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
absolutely. Yeah. So she interviewed for an entirely different role, and we were like, hey, this is probably not the right spot, but we think there's a spot for you. And it's a time where we were really looking for more formality in our safety program. We've gone through this conversation before. Like, are we being safe because we're doing the right things, or are we safe on accident? Right? We just happen to get lucky and be safe. And in an effort to really add more formality, really track those things, and sort of enhance what we're trying to accomplish. Like Blair had some of those pieces in different ways, from understanding like some of the fleet management aspects, or some like the CSA compliance and stuff like that. But absolutely.
Yeah, we're not saying favorites, but I just did want to do a shout out because I got an email from you the other day about something that she did that was really well done. And it's something that if any of us would have had to do it, we would have gotten through it, but we probably wouldn't have done it. I mean, I know there was also a situation once before where she had to go to meet with a client over something, and like the way she handled it was really,
Yeah.
We could have gotten to that, but we probably wouldn't have gotten to it in the appropriate way that she was able to handle it. So, that was just when I got that email, I just figured we could throw that out there as a shout out for taking care of that.
No, that's a good point. I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah. On the Blair front, the thing, Blair and I have talked about it lately, and Ford and we've all talked about it, that I think Blair, in the long run, I think Blair is going to help us get from a point where safety became this thing that we knew we had to do, right? And that doesn't mean be safe. We were always
We had
safe.
to formalize it.
We had to formalize it. And it wasn't something that I was going to be strong at, and so you and Blair took the lead on it. And I feel like we've gotten it to a point now where it is something that can be managed by Berg Construction. It is something that's become, the formality is in place. And so it's easier now to manage it. Because a lot of times that's the hard part when you try and be intentional and formal about something, it's getting there.
Right.
We have lots of processes that each of us follow on any given day that one would say is formal, but it's because they exist. But developing a formal process, that's a different thing, and so there was really a lot of effort put in by you and Blair and some other people on the team to move us to that point, to the point where now it is formal. And so it can be part of what we are. And it's not as much, doesn't feel like a nuisance, right? Like, in other words, it doesn't feel like, we got to do this extra step.
Right.
Like it just is the step.
Just part of the protocol.
And it makes it so much better for our team in the long run, because now if you ask me the question, are we safe or are we safe on accident? We're safe. We are intentionally doing things to put ourselves in the best situation we can.
Yeah. It's not just happening.
It's not just
intentional. It's part of what we do.
Plug for Safety Day coming up here in a little bit, but we're getting a little off topic because of but I just thought about that. I was
well, the things they do, because we say, it's funny, we said we don't really have people in the field per se at this point, like we did other than Carol, but that's not true. Blair's in the field a couple times a week, and it's something she's really, really pushing into, to be more involved in the field, for everybody to feel a commonness with her, of seeing her in the field, that Blair is not an office position. It is, but as much as an office position as a project manager is, it's, their responsibilities are in the field.
It's definitely a blend of the two, right? She's got to manage the paperwork and compliance and formality of some of that stuff. Yep. But it does spend a fair amount of time in the field, being with the guys, observing what's happening.
Well, and I think real quick, just to get on the safety topic, not to get off, but like part of what she's been doing, getting in the field, is, safety in construction has always been sort of an adversarial piece. And if you're doing it right, it doesn't need to be that. It's a benefit for everyone. It's not like, safety's here or whatever you want to call it. That was the mentality that, we said about women not being in construction, but safety's the same type of barrier there that people just didn't quite, it's part of it. It's not a side piece. It's not over here, over there. It is literally part of just the daily operations. Same thing with females being part of the construction industry. It isn't something unique. It isn't something over to the side. It's just part of what becomes who we are.
Yeah.
I'm going to take us off the rails for 1 second. You're going to have to take us back just because of the timing of this.
Yeah.
So you can get the jar out. I'm going to have to put money in. So I can't go this podcast without saying that, we said that someone was having a procedure last week. They did. It went well. And so I saw my buddy JD today.
Okay.
So I was happy to just stand there and shake JD's hand. And it almost gets me emotional because, he had a significant procedure done. And I don't want to put JD's information out there any more than Angie already did, because Angie's had better coverage than like Channel 6 News of JD's procedure. She's been on top of it. But I got to see JD today, and it was just good to shake JD's hand and see him up and moving and dressed in camo like you should see JD. So, shout out to JD, and we look forward to having JD back with us in whatever time frame, the situation allows.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's probably an appropriate place to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We are celebrating.
Thank you, ladies, for all you do.
Yeah. Celebrating the women here in Berg Construction, the women connected to Berg Construction. and they deserve the credit for sure. So thanks, folks. We hope you got something from this, and we hope you join us for another episode.